Hey everyone, it's Donna with Miss Donna for Music, and today we want to talk about pumpkin songs. So we are now fully in fall mode. It's almost October, and this is the season for pumpkins. So I have this cute little pumpkin song that I want to share with you. And before I share with you, I wanted to share a few things about it. So first of all, I have shared before about how I was teaching at a private Christian school where we do not celebrate Halloween. So I always had to be very careful about the types of fall songs and activities that we would choose because I had to make sure it had nothing to do with Halloween, no references to Halloween whatsoever. And so this song is a very cute song that I would do every year that's very fall focused and not Halloween. Now, I have seen some versions of this song. There's a line in the song where the version that I use, we say, there are leaves in the air. And I've seen a few versions where they say there are witches in the air or there are spookies in the air. But my version just says leaves, so it sticks to strictly fall. So if you're looking for a fall only song, this is a great opportunity, a great song to use with that. The second thing is I have traditionally used this song with kindergarten through second grade, my younger students. And so I've been thinking about, are there ways that I could use it with my older kids too? Because I don't know about you, but for me, I love having a song or activity that I can use for all my grade levels. You know, I'll just take it, make a few little minor tweaks to adapt it for the different grades. But anytime I can have one song or one activity that I can use for kindergarten through sixth grade, and of course I used to also teach 7th and 8th grade as well, so if I could have it go kindergarten through 8th grade, even better. And so I will share a couple of ideas with you for this song in a little bit that I could use with older kids as well. And the third thing about this song is I actually just recently learned that there are other teachers that use this song that sing it completely different than I learned it. And I think the reason for that is because when I first learned this song, it wasn't a song at all. It was just a poem, which I think is how this originally started. It was written as a poem for kids and someone just turned it into a song. But at the time that I learned it, there was not a written melody for it in my resource where I learned it from. So I wanted to make it into a song, so I had to come up with my own little melody. So I'm going to share with you my version of the song and show you some of the movements that we've added that I usually do with my younger kids. Okay, so here's my version of, this is 5 Little Pumpkins. So it goes like this. 5 little pumpkins sitting on a gate. The first one said, oh my, it's getting late. The second one said, there are leaves in the air. The third one said, but we don't care. The fourth one said, let's run and run and run. The fifth one said, I'm ready for some fun. Ooh, went the wind and out went the lights, and the 5 little pumpkins rolled out of sight. And that's what we do. So if you couldn't see the with the beginning 5 little pumpkins sitting on a gate, I'm just taking my one leg and crossing it over the other one, kind of like I'm pretending like I'm sitting on a gate or on a fence, which is a little tricky, it takes some balance. And as you can see, the other movements are very simple and just kind of follow along right with what the words are saying, right? You look at the time, we don't care, let's run and run and run, we're ready for some fun, we just kind of jump in the air. And then the ooh, this is kind of mimicking the wind, out went the lights, and then the 5 little pumpkins rolled out of sight. And sometimes the kids like to actually roll on the ground, and that's fine as long as they're not completely out of control and going off somewhere in the distance. I'm fine with that. So that's usually what I do with my younger students. We sing the song and we do the movements. We usually do it all together at the same time the first couple of times. And then depending on the size of my class, I might either pick 5 students to come stand up in front with me, and each of them gets to act out one of the pumpkins and sort of sing a little solo. So we all sing together at the beginning. 5 little pumpkins sitting on a gate, the first one said, and then whoever's the first little pumpkin gets to sing a solo, oh my, it's getting late, and kind of act it out on their own. And then we go through each of the 5 pumpkins, and then everybody comes together at the end with the ooh went the wind and out went the lights, and then that's how we end the song all together. Again, depending on the size of the class, if I don't pick 5 individual students, then I'll divide the class into 5 small groups and say, okay, this group, you're going to be pumpkin number 1, this group, you're pumpkin number 2. And then we kind of do the same idea, just with small groups instead of individuals. So with the older kids, there are several things you can do with this song as well to keep them engaged. Sometimes the older kids like to do the little kid songs just to be silly, and that's okay. But if you want them to still feel like big kids, then there are things that you can add to the song. Instead of doing the movements, I would add instruments. So first of all, before you get to instruments, you can go over solfege of the song. The version that I do uses solfege, do, re, mi, fa, so. So you can use it as an introduction to fa. We don't really do a lot of fa because most of our singing is done with do, re, mi, so, la, that pentatonic scale, because it's easy for kids to follow that, and it's easy to sing. And if you add instruments, melody instruments, it doesn't really matter what notes you play because they all kind of sound good together. So so that's how we don't do a lot of fa, focus on learning fa, the solfege fa. But this one does use fa in several places. Even with the younger ones, you can talk about solfege a little bit. There are a couple of parts where we make a jump from do to so. Ooh, went the wind and out went the lights, and the 5 little pumpkins rolled out of sight. So you could talk about that with the younger ones, that jump from do to so. And then of course at the end, 5 little pumpkins rolled out of sight. It goes right down the steps at the end. And so that you can talk about with the little ones, just how it kind of goes down the steps. It's like the leaves falling to the ground. With the older ones, you can actually go through the so, fa, mi, re, do, actual solfege for that part. The other thing with older kids you could do is talk about the rhythm. What I could also do with my younger kids is just use it as a passing game. So have them sit in a circle, have some little pumpkin toy or something, or a small little pumpkin that you can pass around the circle to the beat as they sing the song. And you can start that with older kids too. But this also would be a good introduction for the dotted quarter note, single eighth note rhythm pattern for the older kids. It's throughout this whole song. And so you could talk about, if you're keeping the beat, 5 little pumpkins sitting on a gate, the first one said, oh my, it's getting late. So you have those parts where there's a dotted quarter note where you can kind of feel there's a beat, but there's no word, right? 5 little pumpkins sitting on a gate, the first, and then the first, the is a really quick and sort of in between the beats. So you can kind of talk about that and then use that as an introduction to the dotted quarter note and single eighth note. And of course, that rhythm pattern appears a bunch of times throughout the whole song. So you can use that with the older kids and talk about that. And then of course, you can always add instruments. This is a good one to start adding instruments, mallet instruments, or melody instruments like boom whackers. You could have them play the melody on boom whackers, or glockenspiels or xylophones, and then, or you could have them create an accompaniment with those instruments. And so it's good for mallet technique. If you're using glockenspiels or xylophones, you can kind of go over that with them and have them learn some patterns on that for accompaniment. For example, using bourdons is a popular, easy accompaniment for elementary kids, especially when they're just starting to learn about mallet instruments. And so what that is basically you have a simple bourdon, 2 notes, a C in the left hand, a G in the right hand, and they hit those 2 at the same time, usually to the beat or like a half note beat. So, 5 little pumpkins sitting on a gate, the first one said, oh my, it's getting late. So they're still keeping the beat, they're still maintaining the melody of the song, but they're adding something a little bit more complicated to it. And then of course you could do different kinds of bourdons, like the broken bourdon where it's like C, G, C, G, and just repeat that over and over again. 5 little pumpkins sitting on a gate, the first one said, oh my, it's getting late, and all of that. So you could make it a little more complicated for those that can handle it. But I think adding the rhythm element and those instruments automatically gives the older kids something a little more big kid to do, to add to this song that's a little more for the little kids. But it lets them be a part of that and still add something a little more complicated that they can handle. So I am in the process of working on a resource to put in my TPT store for this song that has all of that included: solfege, rhythm, steady beat, mallet instrument parts, and all of that, the movements and all of that. I'm hoping that it will be out very soon. In the meantime, you can also check out my resource for Pass the Pumpkin. That's another very popular song this time of year. And I already have a great resource in my TPT shop for that. And I'll probably talk a little bit more about that on another day. But it's another song great for this time of year. And that song also has a spooky Halloween version and a non-spooky version for those that want to avoid all the Halloween references. So check it out, enjoy it, let me know what you think, and have a great music day and keep practicing.